Well, Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke has been forced to leave a Muslim prayer event in Western Sydney due to security concerns. WhatsApp messages were reportedly circulated ahead of the event, urging people to protest Burke's appearance, and a video was posted online showing a man associated with a pro-Palestinian group declaring the minister was not welcome in the community and daring him to come back without police. Burke's corflutes have also been graffitied. Joining us now is former Labor MP Michael Danby. Michael, the Labor Party have pandered to the Muslim community in Western Sydney since October 7. I'm not sure there'd be much argument about that, but it doesn't seem to have been appreciated.
Good evening, Denise and James. Look, there should be no threats to any politician, whether it's physical, verbal, to whether it's Pauline Hanson or Tony Burke. But you're dead right. I mean, Tony Burke is probably the most pro-Palestinian Labor politician, not including Bob Carr, who's now out of office. But you can never satisfy these jihadists. This is a message to anyone who used to be in the old Labor Party. Social Democrats used to fight communists, for instance, because we knew you could never satisfy them. You have to present a rational and normal platform to voters, and you can see that this hasn't worked in Western Sydney, where these threats have been made to him at that meeting.
No, it's very clear. Now, look, we're going to ask you about Australia's Race Discrimination Commissioner, who has warned politicians not to exploit racist rhetoric against migrants over the cost of living crisis. Giridharan Sivaram has told the lefties over at The Guardian, he said that economic inequality shouldn't be exploited by rhetoric that blames migration for what are usually far more complex and deeply trenched problems. We need to be really careful in our debates that we don't dehumanise migrants in making arguments about economic inequality. Michael, you know, this is the exact problem with the left, OK? It is not racist to have a genuine conversation about migration and migration rates in this country, but you can't have it, of course, without the left claiming racism all the time.
What a load of tosh he was talking. I'm a big Australia person from the past and supported Philip Ruddock, who was the Liberal minister, taking net immigration to 200,000. But to have 1 million people over the last just over a year, it's just too much. And it's perfectly legitimate to talk about it. I'm not very impressed with this bloke. I mean, where has the Human Rights Commission, where has this bloke been with the plague of anti-Jewish bigotry over the last year? Virtually invisible, virtually invisible. And of course, appointed by Mark Dreyfus, it's like all of the magistrates and judges that are appointed, Danica and James, who let out all of these people who should be bailed or not be bailed or should be jailed. It's the politicians who appoint them because they agree with them. So this is very much a Dreyfus appointment. He and the Human Rights Commission have been disgracefully inactive and silent since October the 7th. And it was even before, James. Look, why hasn't the Human Rights Commission or any of them come out and warned this bloke at the University of Technology, Sydney, who the other day said that it was the role of these pro-Palestinian demonstrators to make Jews seem nervous? He didn't say Zionists or Israelis. He was explicit about it. Come on, Human Rights Commission, at least bark a bit.
Yeah, well, of course, the Human Rights Commission lost me when they made the claim that human rights had been abused during the COVID crisis 5 years after the COVID crisis had finished. So
where were they then?
Exactly. Yeah. They seem to pick and choose, don't they, Michael? Hey, I want to ask you about Victoria. There's a number of polls suggesting Victoria will flip the coalition's way at the election. I just want to get your take on how things are playing out in that state, and particularly how much dislike for Premier Jacinta Allen will hurt Anthony Albanese at a federal level. How do you see that playing out over the next 5 weeks?
Victoria is flat broke. The Victorian Socialist Left government is really impacting on voters, and it'll have a backlash on the federal results. There are 8 Labor seats, up to 7.5% out to Corangamite, closest one being Aston, who the Liberals could win. 8 seats in outer Melbourne alone. And that doesn't include the 2 seats that the Greens might win in Wills or Macnamara. I thought it was really weird for Albo to be out in Hinckley yesterday, a 12% coalition seat. I said he should be in my old seat of Melbourne Ports in McNamara, pounding the streets of Port Melbourne and Garden City and trying to convince the wharfies who still live there that they should stick with Labor. That's where he should have been if he had his priorities right.
Yeah, you'd think so, Michael. Now, look, Anthony Albanese still has not been able to get Donald Trump on the phone, of course, as Liberation Day approaches, where we could cop another round of tariffs. But have a listen to Albo this morning, who says, oh, well, not my fault.
The reason why that didn't occur was because the president made a decision to not talk to anyone and to impose this regime on every country.
Michael, he's saying, look, Donald Trump's not going to talk to anyone. Is he right, or is Labor on the back foot with this administration?
Danica, this is a Team Australia thing. He should drop his pride, get Joe Hockey, Gina Reinhart, Greg Norman, anyone who can go over there and who are friends of the president and try and use the goodwill that Australia has to twist the American administration's arm. I'm worried that there's a dark side to this because many countries, whether it's Denmark or Canada, that are friends of the United States, are having a pushback to their left of centre governments because, with the threat of Donald Trump waiting in the wings, whether it's tariffs or other issues, it causes a nationalist reaction inside that country for the existing government.
Michael Danby, we really appreciate your insights tonight. Thanks for joining us.